I'd like to talk to you now about some of the common questions that come up at these hearings. These questions may not come up in your hearing, or all of these questions may not come up in your hearing. As I say, sometimes these things are quite short, but I'd like to give you some idea of the kinds of questions that you'll be asked. To begin with, you'll probably be asked if you're currently working. More commonly, you'll be asked, when's the last time you worked? Again, as I say, don't worry about a specific date, just try to estimate when you last worked. It may be more than months ago, it may be a year or more ago. You'll also be asked, what kind of work did you do? And why did that job end? Were you fired? Did you quit? Were you unable to do certain things? And if so, what? We have to show, to begin with, the first thing we have to show is why you are not able to return to any of the jobs that you've had in the past. Not so much the distant, far past. Social Security has a 15-year rule where the judge will be asking you questions about what kind of jobs have you had in the past 15 years. So do your best to try to remember what kind of jobs you've had. You don't need to know or remember the name of the particular employer, but the important thing to describe to the judge if you're asked about this is what kind of jobs, what kind of job titles, and what things did you do in your work if you've had jobs in the past 15 years. And remember that in part of this process, we'll be having to explain why you are no longer able to return to and do that kind of work anymore. One thing that I need to explain that I wish it weren't so, but I need to caution you about how you describe what kind of work you've done in the past. This is not a job interview where typically we try to enthusiastically convince the listener that we can do practically anything if we're just given an opportunity. This is a time where, again, I remind you to tell the truth, but this at the hearing will not be a good time for you to exaggerate what kind of experience you have acquired in your past work. Whether this is fair or not, the rules about these things are that the more experience you have, the more skills you have, the more different things that you can do as far as work is concerned, it may be harder for you to get approved. A person, for example, who's 55 years old, who has had only unskilled work experience with no education or not much of an education, if that person, for example, has a broken back or has had back surgery and can't do that kind of work anymore, it is often easier for us to get that person approved than someone who's of the same age but who has lots of education and who has had lots of experience in jobs, working desk jobs or things such as that which aren't hard physically. I don't want this judge to get a wrong impression about what kind of experience you have had. So again, with a reminder to tell the truth, but this is not the time to puff up or exaggerate your skills. Because if the judge gets a wrong impression, thinking that you do have more skills than you really do, it may be even harder for you to be approved. Another kind of question that frequently comes up at these hearings is the judge or me asking you to describe your average day. For example, with questions like, when do you typically get up in the morning? When do you typically go to bed in the evening? And what do you do in the meantime?